Well, the claims follow footage of Joe Biden earlier this week dozing off during one of the speeches at COP26. And it's only one of the many recent mental lapses that he appears to have had in the last few months, which has fueled speculation about the president and his cognitive health. And it seems US Vice President Kamala Harris is also trying to distance herself from the ageing president. In the last month, the number of joint appearances of the pair have dropped to single figures and reports of a rift have emerged. So has the back door towards America's first female president been closed? What do you think about this? Andrew, are you worried about the cognitive health of the leader of the free world, the man with access to the nuclear codes?
Well, I think it's very, very important, but I also think there is absolutely no way that I'm in a position to assess his cognitive health.
Why not try watching...
Dr. Andrew.
Why not try watching any of his speeches ever?
OK, here's the thing, though. I was very mistrustful of this when it was happening with Trump. I mean, if you remember, there was all these sort of armchair psychologists trying to diagnose him as mentally ill. And this was in mainstream newspapers as well. It was like a main thing. And I just think we can't possibly... Let's leave that to the experts who are close to him, who can analyse his position, and they, who know what they're talking about.
He does a deal with the Prime Minister of Australia and then forgets his name.
But that's what happens when you get older.
Can you name the Prime Minister of
Kamala Harris with the President of the United States?
Actually,
wait a minute.
Hashtag ScoMo.
I definitely could.
But I've fallen asleep in meetings.
No, he does it.
Not here.
He does it repeatedly.
Oh, clearly.
All the MPs sleep on those benches all the bloody time. My issue is I don't like it when it is conflated being 78 with being unable to do the job.
Well said.
There are many 78-year-olds who would be perfectly able.
Well said.
I will accept that there are times where I've heard him speaking where I'm like, oh, Joe, pull it back. I don't love that from you. But I really hate the suggestion that people have to be forcibly retired from life at a certain age.
I couldn't agree more.
It's so... Ageism is so...
You're so right, and I do wonder if that's unfortunate that ageism creeps into this debate around Joe Biden.
It does. It's not just about his age, though. It's the fact that he's had illnesses as well that can coincide with his cognitive ability. And other people that are medical professionals have actually highlighted this. And I think it's slightly disingenuous to compare it to Trump, because although Trump said some silly things, he was very clearly, awake and aware.
And people were saying he was mad. People weren't saying he had cognitive decline. People were saying he was actually insane.
I think the case of Joe Biden is actually more serious, because even throughout his election campaign, his team purposefully kept him away from as many people as possible. Even he's acknowledged that he's a gaffe machine. And I think, yes, you do have to take in consideration his age, considering he's like America's oldest president in history, but also the fact that his behaviour has demonstrated that there are some real concerns there about his mental capability. And I think in terms of Kamala Harris, she was always supposed to be sort of the supporting act for Joe Biden to give him some structure. But as people have seen, he's not the saving grace for America that people predicted.
There's no way in hell she'll be president. That is not a country that is ready for a female leader, especially one who isn't white. I'm sorry.
No, but she will be.
By default.
But we had 2 terms of Obama.
She would, a very light-skinned man.
She's light-skinned and she's mixed race as well. But I don't agree with that.
I'm telling you, honestly, if I was going to put my life savings on one thing, is that country is too racist and too sexist to allow me.
That's rubbish.
Isn't it because Kamala Harris... Go on then, Dominique.
Yeah, sorry. Polling-wise, amongst American citizens, they'd be more likely to elect a black president than a Muslim one that's from the Middle East, etc., etc. And that's polling-wise. America is very, very friendly towards black people, especially electing them in places of office. So
America is very, very friendly to... America has some of the worst racial track... It has the worst racism in the world.
Well, not right now. I think that's
in other words, the millions of people that voted for Obama just a few years ago.
Yeah, but I think Obama was not a woman. I think two.
Well, you've got to make your mind up. Either America's racist or sexist.
Both. Very much both.
It wasn't racist for Obama, so it's going to be only sexist.
No, it's both. And I think the combination of those two problems...
Was it sexist when... the majority
when the female president
basically
there has never been
Hillary Clinton won the popular vote at the last against Trump,
and between the two,
so more Americans voted for a woman 2 elections ago.
She would, and what I'm saying is I'm trying to bloody talk, Mark. Somebody who ticks 2 boxes, as people talk about it, will not get elected.
Oh, I see.
I think you could
so
be.
So you
not,
think it's like a sort of toxic
you
combination?
You could be not white, or you could be not a man.
I think that's very. I think that's a racist.
Yes, that's the problem.
Sexist.
Does it matter though? Because ultimately, I think I don't think that Biden will. I mean, this is awful. I don't think he will finish the term, and I think Kamala will then by default.
You don't think he'll do 4, or you don't think he'll do 8?
He won't run for another term.
I'm not convinced. I mean, he said that he wouldn't run for another term, right?
So he won't do 8. So he won't do 8.
So is it not? Is it not at least worth contemplating that Kamala Harris would by default become president if
she would if she was able to?
Rebecca, can we briefly mention Kamala Harris, who appears to be a hapless politician rather than somebody that's subject to awful prejudice? You know, she's basically not a very effective political operator by the looks of it. Would you accept that?
I honestly don't know enough about her actual political track record.
So then you can't say in one breath that they wouldn't ever elect someone that's brown and female then if you don't know that much about her. In terms of when she won with President Biden on his ticket, she was celebrated nationwide. They were hailed all over the mainstream media, especially in outlets like the Washington Post, the CNN, as the saviours of America. So the idea that Kamala Harris could never be president because of her skin colour and biological sex, I think that's a very
patronising.
Let's see what happens.
Do you have a view on her effectiveness or otherwise as a politician? Because I would acknowledge and accept to a degree what Rebecca's saying about issues in American society, but from a sort of pundit's point of view, it appears that Kamala Harris is just a crap vice president.
She is, and she's unliked, and that's why she could never have been on a ticket by herself. And I think she's a hypocrite in terms of a track record. She's virtue signalled a lot on, the BLM riots, on police brutality, despite overseeing large swathes of black men being locked up when she was in a position of power, I think, as Attorney General. She does have quite a vast political track record with not much success. I think she'd be more judged on her abilities as a politician rather than her vagina and skin colour.
I wish I agree with you, and I wish that we lived in a world where your genitals and your skin colour mattered a lot less. I think that'd be much better.
They matter less now. I'm not saying they don't matter completely, but the idea that I can't get into a position of power because of my skin colour, I think that's a patronising submission.
I don't think I would say that you couldn't at all, but I think it would be harder for you than
you
it would
said
for me.
She would never be president.
I don't think she will
of her skin colour.
I don't think she will.
Biological sex. I think that's patronising, and I think it's dangerous to perpetuate that idea to young people, women, and ethnic minorities because it stops them from being able to strive.
Well, maybe we'll know. Maybe it will be the case that she will be running in the next election. Then we can put this to the test. And
I would love to be wrong. Don't get me wrong. I would be delighted to be wrong.
I mean, I'd love to see a black female president, but not her, because I believe she.
I'd love just any female president, regardless of ethnicity, or just anybody really new or exciting who isn't, somebody everybody hates.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very interesting stuff. Thank you, guys, for that.